"Are you lost, ma'am?" Master Chief Ryan, Steele. Patterson asked with a condescending smile as he watched a young woman in civilian clothes walk onto the restricted SEAL training range at Naval Base Coronado. "This area is for qualified military personnel only." The 12 SEAL operators chuckled as they watched her approach their sacred firing line, but none of them knew that in exactly 8 minutes she would shatter a marksmanship record that had stood untouched for 10 years. Lieutenant Emma Ghost Sullivan walked quietly across the shooting range at Naval Base Coronado, her civilian clothes and unassuming demeanor making her appear completely out of place among the elite SEAL operators. At 27 years old, she was officially visiting the facility as part of an inter-service cooperation program, though the SEAL team had no idea what her actual qualifications were. The Coronado Range was legendary in military circles, a state-of-the-art facility where the Navy's most elite warriors honed their marksmanship skills. The walls were covered with photographs of famous SEAL operations, record-breaking shots, and the names of operators who had achieved legendary status through their precision shooting. "Ma'am, this area is for qualified military personnel only," Master Chief Patterson continued, his tone carrying the authority of someone who had spent 15 years turning ordinary soldiers into elite warriors. Behind him, 12 SEAL operators were preparing for their weekly marksmanship competition, a tradition that had been running continuously for over a decade. The competition centered around one particular achievement, Patterson's legendary 1,200-meter shot that had been made exactly 10 years ago during perfect weather conditions. The shot had become mythical within SEAL circles, representing the absolute pinnacle of precision marksmanship that their facility could produce. "Are you here for the administrative tour?" Petty Officer Marcus Kane asked with barely concealed amusement, setting up his Barrett M82A1 on the precision shooting rest. "The gift shop is back at the main building." Staff Sergeant David Thunder Brooks nodded toward the observation area with obvious dismissal. "Ma'am, you're welcome to watch from behind the safety line, but this is advanced tactical training. We're working with weapons that require extensive certification and years of experience." Chief Warrant Officer Tyler Viper Coleman chuckled as he adjusted his rifle scope. "Hope you brought your camera. You're about to see some of the finest marksmanship in the military." Emma surveyed the range setup with quiet interest. The shooting positions were perfectly engineered, with concrete benches, precision rests, and advanced targeting equipment. But what caught her attention was the reverent way the SEAL operators discussed Patterson's 10-year-old record shot. "The legendary shot," Patterson announced with obvious pride, pointing toward the distant 1,200-meter target. "Perfect weather conditions, perfect equipment alignment, perfect execution. Everything had to be absolutely flawless." Kane lined up behind his Barrett rifle, his movements practiced and confident. "Every SEAL who comes through this facility tries to equal the Chief's record. Most don't even come close." "It's not just about marksmanship," Brooks explained, settling into his own shooting position. "It's about understanding atmospheric conditions, calculating for environmental variables, and maintaining psychological control under pressure." Emma watched the preparations with professional interest, noting the wind flags positioned at intervals along the range, the sophisticated weather monitoring equipment, and the computerized ballistic calculators that the operators were using to compensate for environmental factors. "Shooter ready," Kane announced, his breathing controlled and his stance textbook perfect. Crack, the Barrett M82A1 fired with a sound like thunder, its .50 caliber bullet racing toward the distant target at nearly 3,000 feet per second. Through the high-powered spotting scope, the range officer called out the result. "Close shot, but no hit. Approximately 4 inches low and 2 inches left." Kane shook his head with professional disappointment. "Damn, wind shifted just as I fired." Brooks took his position next, making final adjustments to his scope based on Kane's near miss. His shot was equally professional, equally close, but equally unsuccessful. "High and right by 6 inches, came the spotter's report. Coleman stepped up for his attempt, his confidence bolstered by the precise feedback from the previous shots. His bullet impacted even closer to the target center. 3 inches high, dead on for windage, the spotter announced. Best shot of the day so far. One by one, the SEAL operators took their attempts at Patterson's legendary target. Each shot demonstrated exceptional skill and training. Each near miss proved the difficulty of the challenge, but none found their mark. After 12 attempts by 12 elite operators, the 1,200-meter record remained unbroken. Tough conditions today, Patterson observed, noting the variable wind that was affecting all the shots. This is why the record has stood for 10 years. Everything has to be absolutely perfect. Equipment, conditions, shooter, and a little bit of luck. Emma had been watching each attempt carefully, noting the wind patterns, observing the mirage effects from heat rising off the desert floor, calculating the environmental factors that were causing the consistent near misses. What she saw told her that the conditions were actually quite good for long-range shooting, but the operators were making subtle errors in their environmental calculations. "Excuse me," she said quietly, her voice barely carrying across the range. "Could I ask about trying a shot myself?" The reaction was immediate and predictable. Kane looked at her with obvious amusement. "Ma'am, this is a .50 caliber precision rifle. It's not exactly beginner-friendly equipment." Brooks nodded with patient condescension. "These weapons require significant upper body strength just to hold steady. The recoil can cause serious injury if you're not properly prepared." But Emma was already walking toward the Barrett rifle with movements that suggested familiarity rather than curiosity. "Ma'am," Patterson said with growing concern, "that weapon system requires extensive safety briefing," and Emma picked up the 35-pound rifle like it was a standard carbine, examining the scope settings and checking the chamber with obvious expertise. "Holy shit," someone whispered, watching her handle the massive weapon with complete confidence. "Ma'am," Patterson said carefully, "have you used Barrett systems before?" "Some," Emma replied, already settling into a shooting position that was textbook perfect according to military precision shooting doctrine. The SEAL operators gathered behind her, their amusement replaced by genuine curiosity as they watched her prepare for a shot with movements that suggested extensive training. "Which target?" Emma asked quietly. "Try the 600-meter target first," Kane suggested, assuming she would need to work up to longer ranges. Emma looked at the 600-meter target, then shifted her aim toward the 1,200-meter target that had defeated 12 elite operators that morning. "I'd like to try the record shot, if that's acceptable." The silence that followed lasted exactly 5 seconds. "Ma'am," Patterson said slowly, "that's an extremely difficult shot. Professional SEAL operators with years of experience struggle with that target." "I understand," Emma replied, already making scope adjustments based on her observations of the previous attempts. Brooks stepped forward with obvious concern. "Ma'am, the psychological pressure of attempting a legendary shot can affect even experienced marksmen. There's no shame in starting with closer targets." But Emma was already in position, her breathing controlled, her stance perfect, her eye aligned with the scope in a shooting position that demonstrated years of advanced training. The SEAL operators watched in fascination as she made final adjustments to the rifle scope, compensating for environmental factors with precision that suggested extensive ballistic knowledge. "Shooter ready," she announced quietly. The range fell silent except for the sound of wind flags fluttering and the distant hum of air conditioning units. Crack! The Barrett M82A1 fired with devastating precision. 1,200 meters away, Patterson's legendary target exploded in a cloud of dust and debris. Complete silence filled the training range. "Did she just—" Coleman began, then stopped, unable to finish the sentence. "Confirmed hit at 1,200 meters, the spotter announced, his voice carrying disbelief. "Dead center, perfect shot, record equaled." The SEAL operators stared at Emma with expressions ranging from amazement to outright shock. The 10-year range record had just been equaled by a visiting officer they had assumed was a tourist. "Ma'am," Patterson said slowly, his voice carrying a mixture of respect and professional curiosity. "What exactly is your military specialty?" Emma smiled quietly as she saved the rifle. "Counter-sniper operations, 75th Ranger Regiment. I'm actually here to brief your team on an urgent mission." Before anyone could respond, emergency alarms began screaming across the naval base. Red alert lights flashed throughout the facility as Commander Sarah Hayes burst onto the range, her face grim with urgency. "All SEAL personnel report for immediate deployment," she shouted over the sirens. "We have American hostages in hostile territory. Mission briefing starts now." The casual atmosphere died instantly as 12 SEAL operators snapped to attention, their competitive shooting forgotten in the face of real-world crisis. "Commander, what's the situation?" Patterson asked, immediately shifting from range instructor to combat leader. "Terrorist organization has captured 12 American relief workers in Afghanistan," Hayes announced with deadly seriousness. "Intelligence indicates they're being held in a mountain compound with sophisticated defenses and multiple sniper positions." Emma stepped forward with professional authority. "Commander, I'm Lieutenant Sullivan, 75th Rangers. I believe I'm your designated counter-sniper specialist for this operation." Hayes checked her classified tablet. "Confirmed. Lieutenant Sullivan will be providing long-range fire support and eliminating enemy snipers during the extraction." Kane looked at Emma with new understanding and growing respect. "You're here for the Afghan mission?" "Roger that," Emma replied, her soft voice now carrying the authority of proven competence. "The terrorists have positioned at least 8 sniper teams in elevated positions around the compound. Standard SEAL assault tactics will result in significant casualties unless those positions are neutralized first." Patterson studied Emma with the professional assessment of someone who had just witnessed exceptional shooting. "Ma'am, how do you plan to engage 8 enemy snipers positioned at unknown ranges in mountainous terrain?" Emma looked at the Barrett M82A1 that was still warm from her record-breaking shot. "By doing what I just did, Chief, but with targets that shoot back in terrain that doesn't cooperate." 3 hours later, 4 MH-60 Black Hawk helicopters lifted off from Naval Base Coronado carrying SEAL Team 6 toward the most dangerous hostage rescue mission of their careers. Emma Sullivan sat in the lead aircraft, her custom Barrett rifle across her knees, surrounded by SEAL operators who now understood they were working with someone truly exceptional. The flight to the Afghan compound took 6 hours over hostile territory, crossing international borders and flying through airspace controlled by forces that would shoot down American aircraft on sight. Through her night vision equipment, Emma could see the target facility nestled in a valley between 2 mountain ridges, a fortified compound surrounded by natural defensive positions that provided perfect cover for enemy snipers. "Primary objective is hostage extraction," came the mission briefing over their headsets. "Secondary objective is elimination of terrorist leadership. Intelligence confirms 12 American relief workers are being held in the central building." As they approached the valley, the mission commander provided tactical updates. "Enemy sniper positions have been identified at 8 locations. Ranges vary from 600 to 1,400 meters. These positions must be neutralized before SEAL teams can approach the compound." Emma studied the terrain through her advanced scope, identifying each enemy position and calculating the environmental factors that would affect her shots. The mountain location created complex wind patterns, the altitude affected atmospheric pressure, and the darkness limited visibility, even with night vision equipment. 6 minutes to target, the pilot announced. Emma began her preparations, checking her equipment and running through the sequence of shots that would clear the way for the SEAL assault. 8 enemy snipers positioned at varying ranges and elevations, all of whom were waiting to kill American rescuers. 2 minutes to optimal firing position, came the update. Through her scope, Emma could see the first enemy sniper position, a rocky outcrop at approximately 800 meters where an enemy marksman was scanning the sky for incoming aircraft. 30 seconds to engagement range. Emma controlled her breathing and settled into the perfect shooting position, her rifle steady despite the helicopter's movement. "In position for sniper elimination," she reported over the radio. What happened next became legend in SEAL Team 6 history. Emma's first shot eliminated the enemy sniper covering the main approach route before he could fire on the helicopters. Her second shot took out the marksman positioned to engage landing aircraft. Her third shot neutralized the sniper who had been assigned to prevent hostage movement, but she was just getting started. Her fourth shot eliminated an enemy sniper who was repositioning to engage the SEAL teams. Her fifth shot took out the marksman covering the compound's rear exit. Her sixth shot neutralized a sniper who had been coordinating enemy defensive fire. Her seventh shot eliminated the enemy's most dangerous marksman, positioned at 1,400 meters with a clear field of fire across the entire valley. Her eighth shot took out the final sniper, clearing all enemy overwatch positions and leaving the compound defenseless against SEAL assault tactics. 8 enemy snipers eliminated in less than 3 minutes from a moving helicopter at ranges exceeding 800 meters. "All sniper positions neutralized," Emma reported with characteristic calm. "SEAL teams have clear approach vectors." The helicopter assault proceeded flawlessly. Without enemy sniper coverage, the terrorist defenders were quickly overwhelmed by SEAL tactics, training, and firepower. All 12 American hostages were rescued without casualties, and the terrorist leadership was eliminated. During the flight home, Master Chief Patterson approached Emma with expressions of awe and professional respect. "Ma'am, what you accomplished tonight, 8 moving targets from a helicopter in combat conditions. That's not just exceptional marksmanship, that's redefining what's possible." Kane nodded emphatically, still processing what he had witnessed. The range record this morning was impressive, but combat shooting like that is legendary. Brooks studied Emma with obvious curiosity. "Ma'am, where did you learn to shoot like that? Your technique is unlike anything we've seen." Emma cleaned her rifle with the same methodical precision she had shown throughout the day. 75th Rangers teaches precision shooting under adverse conditions, gentlemen. Mountains, helicopters, combat stress. We train for all of it. Back at Naval Base Coronado, the mission debriefing focused as much on Emma's shooting performance as on the successful hostage rescue. Lieutenant Sullivan eliminated 8 enemy snipers from distances and conditions that most marksmen would consider impossible, Commander Hayes announced to the assembled SEAL team. Her performance enabled the successful completion of a mission that intelligence assessments rated as having less than 30% chance of success. The briefing room was filled with SEAL operators, support personnel, and senior officers who had come to understand what had happened during the Afghan mission. Emma sat quietly in the front row, still wearing her tactical gear, while Hayes presented satellite imagery and shot analysis of her performance. Master Chief Patterson stood up slowly, his attitude completely transformed from the man who had dismissed her as a tourist 12 hours earlier. "Sullivan, what you accomplished today goes beyond exceptional marksmanship. You enabled the rescue of 12 American civilians and completed a mission that had been considered nearly impossible." The room erupted in applause, something Emma had never expected when she had arrived for what was supposed to be a routine inter-service visit. Kane stepped forward with obvious admiration. "Ma'am, your range performance this morning was impressive, but your combat shooting tonight was legendary. Could you train our precision marksmen in your techniques?" But Emma's response was characteristically understated. "Gentlemen, every military branch has specialized skills. Rangers focus on precision shooting under adverse conditions. You focus on close quarters combat and tactical assault. We all serve the same mission. Patterson walked over to the range record board and made a notation beside the 1,200-meter entry. Next to his own name and 10-year-old achievement, he wrote, "Record equaled by Lieutenant Sullivan, 75th Rangers. Combat performance exceeded all expectations, but Emma wasn't finished demonstrating her capabilities. Chief, if you don't mind, I'd like to try something before I leave." She returned to the shooting line with the Barrett, but this time she wasn't aiming at the 1,200-meter target that had defined excellence at Coronado for a decade. She was aiming at an experimental target at 1,500 meters, a distance that no one had ever seriously attempted at the facility. "Ma'am," Patterson said with genuine concern, "that's beyond the theoretical maximum range for this facility. The target's barely visible even through high-powered optics." "I'd like to try anyway," Emma replied quietly, making scope adjustments with movements that suggested she'd calculated this shot during her earlier observations. The SEAL operators gathered behind her, their casual observation replaced by intense professional interest. They were about to witness either spectacular failure or a shooting achievement that would surpass anything in their experience. Emma settled into the perfect shooting position, controlling her breathing and aligning her sight picture with the distant target that appeared as little more than a dot through her scope. Crack! The Barrett fired with its characteristic thunder. 1,500 meters away, the experimental target disintegrated in a cloud of dust and debris, visible even to the naked eye. Complete silence filled the training range as every person present processed what they had just witnessed. "Confirmed hit at 1,500 meters, the spotter announced, his voice filled with awe. "Dead center. New range record." The SEAL operators stared at Emma with expressions that had transformed from dismissal to amazement to something approaching reverence. "Ma'am," Kane said slowly, "that shot was beyond anything we thought was possible at this facility." Brooks nodded with obvious respect. 1,500 meters with a single shot. That's not just marksmanship, that's legendary. 6 months later, the SEAL training facility at Coronado had been transformed under Emma's influence. Her shooting techniques were now standard curriculum for all SEAL precision marksmen, and her range records had inspired a new generation of long-range specialists. The range where she had shattered a 10-year record now featured multiple targets at distances previously considered impossible, with detailed training programs that taught Emma's environmental calculation methods and advanced shooting techniques. But more importantly, her tactical innovations were saving American lives in combat operations worldwide. SEAL teams, Army Rangers, and Marine units were successfully completing missions that had previously failed due to enemy sniper interference. Lieutenant Emma "Ghost" Sullivan had been assigned to a new special operations unit that specialized in counter-sniper operations across multiple theaters. Her perfect mission record included successful sniper elimination in 12 different countries, with enemy marksmen neutralized at ranges that redefined what American forces considered tactically possible. The woman they had dismissed as a lost tourist had become the most respected marksmanship instructor in the special operations community, proving that excellence can appear in unexpected places and that records exist only until someone with the right skills decides to break them. Her legacy lived on in every SEAL sniper who learned her techniques, in every successful mission completed with her fire support, and in every impossible shot that became possible because she had demonstrated what human precision could achieve under perfect conditions. The Range Queen had arrived at Coronado for what everyone thought was a routine visit, but she had left behind a permanent transformation of what the world's most elite warriors believed was possible with the right training, the right equipment, and the right person behind the trigger. Sometimes the person you underestimate is the one who shows you what you've been missing. Sometimes The visitor you dismiss is the teacher you never knew you needed. And sometimes breaking a 10-year record is just the beginning of proving what true precision looks like when everything depends on making the impossible shot. Lieutenant Emma Sullivan had proven all of these truths with marksmanship that would be studied and emulated for decades to come. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.